Well, I'll read you exactly what you said. Israel hasn't nuked Gaza, quote, they could have done. They haven't done that. If you're really genocidal, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
But Russia has the ability to nuke Ukraine too. Russia has the biggest stockpile of nuclear warheads in the world. So why hasn't Russia? So Russia's not doing a genocide?
No, I don't think they are, and I shouldn't have said that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in order to defend Israel, you're withdrawing your allegation against Russia?
Yeah, because you made me think about it. I didn't remember that I'd used that word.
The world knows Piers Morgan as the uncensored arbiter of truth, the man who prides himself on being a fearless, consistent commentator. But in this exchange, the tables are turned in New York City. In this high-stakes exchange, Mehdi Hasan does what few have managed to do. He pins Morgan against the wall of his own past rhetoric. What you are about to witness is a masterclass in accountability. Watch closely as Mehdi forces Piers to address the glaring G-word double standard. When confronted with the fact that Piers labeled conflicts in Syria and Burma as genocide with far lower death tolls than what we are seeing in Gaza, Piers is forced into a stunning rhetorical retreat. Rather than acknowledge the scale of the horror in Palestine, he chooses to withdraw his previous allegations against Vladimir Putin's actions in Ukraine just to avoid being consistent on Israel. This isn't just a debate about definitions, it's an exposure of a selective moral compass. From the 40 beheaded babies myth to the refusal to call out Donald Trump's shift toward fascist rhetoric, this clip shows exactly what happens when uncensored opinions meet cold, hard receipts. This is the moment the mask of the objective British media personality finally slips. Please make sure to like this video and subscribe to Floor Leader Insider to stay updated on the most critical political breakdowns. I'll be giving my unfiltered thoughts at the end of this clip. Now, let's dive right into this heated exchange.
How is Netanyahu not a terrorist, Piers?
Well, it may end up being that he is convicted of war crimes that suggest he's a terrorist.
But Sinwar wasn't convicted of.
Well, Sinwar.
I'm just being consistent. The ICC chief prosecutor put out warrant for both.
Here's the difference. Hamas made no secret of what they did on October the 7th. Sinwar directed and ordered that attack. No one
Nor is Israel.
That. Yeah, but what the difference is that Hamas said, here are the GoPro cameras. We are going to show the world what we're doing here.
So is Israel. I just mentioned a video where a kid is killed on camera. Yeah. In fact, Israeli soldiers have put out TikToks of their war crimes, Piers.
You're not going to get me to say that what Israel's been doing is terrorism, because I believe they are defending
Why
their
not,
people.
though, is what I'm wondering. Because, seems to be just a stubborn resistance
because any country in the world that had October the 7th perpetrated against them would do what Israel has done.
No, they wouldn't.
Yes, they would.
They would have killed kids on this level.
No, if you had literally a country on your border.
Well, it's not a country on your border, it's occupied territory. I think you've conceded yourself in previous
I have actually said to you, I believe it is occupied territory.
Okay then, so it's not a country on your border.
Let's call it, what do you want to call it?
Occupied territory.
Okay, well, let's call it Gaza. Okay? That on one single day, in 13 different entry points, 3,000 people came through and committed as much mayhem and murder as they could possibly commit in a deliberate attempt to destabilize and take down Israel, which is the intention of their original charter. If that happened on any border, shared border in the world, there is no country in the world that would not have responded with military force in the way that Israel has done.
I don't agree with that. But let me say you're right.
Well,
every country would have done that. Doesn't make it not terrorism.
No, but then what you're saying is that any country that then goes after terrorists that perpetrate that kind of attack automatically themselves become terrorists.
No,
I dispute that categorization.
No, I'm saying that's a straw man.
Well, give me an example where they're not terrorists.
I just gave you an example. They could have responded to Hamas without attacking a kid, killing the kid, and when people come to rescue him, attacking them as well. I can be here all day. We don't have the time. So I can go through. They didn't need to attack an apartment building.
When American
forces,
we're
not doing whataboutism. We're not doing whataboutism.
When they went after ISIS, but they killed a lot of innocent children in the process.
I think those were acts of war crimes. I think war crimes are acts of terror. Yes.
So if you go after,
I don't think.
So if you go after any terror group in the world.
No, I'm saying if you hold on, Piers. The definition of terrorism, according to every dictionary, is the use of political violence against civilians for political goals. That is what Netanyahu is doing. He said it openly. Israelis have said it on your show.
Well, he's responding to a terrorist attack
by doing more terrorism.
He's
killed 33 times as many people as Yahya Sinwar.
Let me be clear.
But Sinwar's a terrorist, not Netanyahu.
Netanyahu should absolutely no longer be Prime Minister of Israel.
Should he be at the ICC?
Probably, yeah.
So if the warrant comes down, you support the UK arresting him if he comes to the UK?
I absolutely think that his alleged war crimes And I use that because they've not been substantiated. His alleged war crimes should absolutely be investigated.
This doesn't make any sense. I agree with you. No. I agree with you that they haven't been substantiated, but I'm being consistent. I'm saying everyone, Hamas, Israel, should be substantiated in investigation. You're saying one side's terrorists based on GoPro, but the other side's not terrorists, even though we've watched them kill thousands of people on camera. Literally, I've seen it. I saw them gun down an old lady holding a white flag.
Hamas have made no secret that what they did was terrorism.
Nor of Israel. Have you listened to Israeli soldiers? You should watch our documentary. It's called Israel's Real Extremism. It shows Israeli soldiers talking proudly about what they've done in Gaza. It's not just a T word, Piers, that you've been reluctant to use in relation to Israel, but also the G word. Genocide.
It's not genocide.
Why are you, so let's talk about that. Why are you perfectly happy to call what Russia is doing in Ukraine a genocide, but not what Israel's doing in Gaza when there are fewer civilians, far fewer kids killed in Ukraine than in Gaza, arguably way less genocidal rhetoric from the Russian government than we hear from the Israeli government? Why are you so uncensored on Russia but not on Israel? What are you afraid of?
I actually thought when you first jumped me with that, it was a good point. I hadn't realised I'd used the word genocide in relation to what was going on in Russia. And I did go away and think about that quite carefully. Because you've got to be careful about the word genocide. The word genocide is where you deliberately exterminate a group of people based on ethnicity. And the reality about, let's take Gaza first of all. If Israel actually wanted to get rid of everyone in Gaza, they have the military power to do that. They have nuclear weapons. They could just nuke Gaza, as some of them, I suspect, would quite like to do. They've got some massively right-wing headbangers in that government, Ben-Gvir, Smodrich and others, who I suspect wouldn't hesitate to wage a form of genocide. So I accept that completely. But the reality is that there are 2 million people in Gaza, of which, depending which estimate you want to believe, but the official records from the Hamas-run health authority, there are about 45,000 people have died, of which it is estimated that around 15 to 20,000 are Hamas, and the rest are civilians.
That's estimated by Israel, but okay.
Okay, but there are different figures put out. But let's assume it's in that ballpark. Okay.
No.
Well, okay, but
you can say that.
Here's my point. It's not 2 million people, which Israel.
But that's not the definition of genocide.
Well, isn't it?
No. The Genocide Convention doesn't say you have to kill everyone. By the way, you said this to Bassem Youssef, our good friend, last week on the show. You said, well, I want to read you exactly what you said. Israel hasn't nuked Gaza, quote, they could have done. They haven't done that. If you're really genocidal, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
But Russia has the ability to nuke Ukraine too. Russia has the biggest stockpile of nuclear warheads in the world. So why hasn't Russia? So Russia's not doing a genocide?
No, I don't think they are, and I shouldn't have said that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in order to defend Israel, you're withdrawing your allegation against Russia?
Yeah, because you made me think about it. I didn't remember that I'd used that word in relation to.
But it's not just Russia.
No, because
you've said it about many people.
Well, okay, so
you said Bashar al-Assad in 2012, 1 year into the civil war in Syria, when the death toll was much lower than Gaza. You said it was a genocide. You said the Rohingya in Burma.
Well, that's interesting.
Hold on. You said Rohingya in Burma.
Answer.
I'm finished my question. Then you answer.
Okay.
You said the Rohingya in 2017, far less death toll in Burma, is a genocide. So I look at Piers Morgan and I say, here's this uncensored person, very bold, outspoken, opinionated man. He says Syria's a genocide. Burma's a genocide. Ukraine's a genocide. Israel? No, it's not a genocide.
Yeah.
And now today, actually, I'm going to withdraw the charge of genocide of Ukraine. That's how much I don't want to accuse Israel of genocide.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
It feels like you're afraid.
No, the other examples I would give, I would say absolutely there was genocidal intent. You did make me think about what was happening in Russia and Ukraine. And the reality is, as people know in that area, it is complicated because a lot of the people in the Donbass, for example, speak Russian, right? And some of them, a percentage of them, do identify as Russian and would quite like to go back to being Russian. So I think to use the word genocide about what Russia is doing there is the wrong term. And I shouldn't have used it.
So
I wasn't aware
are you withdrawing it on Syria and Burma as well?
No, because I think they are definitely a genocidal intent. They're genocidal intent. What you want people to believe is that what Israel is doing, without any reference to October the 7th, they want to basically kill
Bashar al-Assad would say exactly what Netanyahu says. He says, I'm fighting terrorists. They're hiding amongst civilians in Homs.
Let me ask you.
Assad uses the same...
Let me throw it back at you.
No. To quote you, this is my show. I've got limited time. I'm asking you questions. Bashar al-Assad would say exactly what Netanyahu says. He says, I'm fighting terror. I don't believe him and you don't believe him. We don't like Bashar al-Assad. We agree on Assad.
Yes.
But he would say exactly what Netanyahu says. I'm fighting terrorists who are hiding amongst civilians in Homs and I'm bombing them. I'm fighting a war of self-defense. You say genocidal. I say, yeah, maybe genocidal. Israel says Amalek. They say total annihilation. They say we're going to destroy Gaza. We're going to level it, etc. You say not genocidal. I don't get it.
I don't think it is genocide, no.
Even though the facts say otherwise. Holocaust historians like Omar Bartov and Amos Goldberg, Arian Nair, some of the experts on Holocaust say it is a genocide.
Yeah, but a lot of experts say it's not a genocide.
That's not actually some of the leading Holocaust experts are all lining up in one direction.
You've got your experts. I've seen many other experts who say it's not genocide. So you can, look.
I just find it fascinating that you'll call every other conflict which has fewer deaths than Gaza genocide. But for some reason,
you're fewer deaths in Syria.
There were in February 2012, I checked.
Huh?
You said it was a genocide in February 2012. See, I do my homework. I checked. 7,500 people in Syria being killed at that point. You said genocide. 45,000 people in Gaza. You say not genocide.
Well, it comes down to what you think the intent is of the people perpetrating.
You don't think they're trying to erase northern Gaza right now?
I think what they're doing.
Are you seeing what's happening in northern Gaza?
Here's what I think they're doing. I think Israel genuinely believe what they're trying to do is eliminate Hamas, who they perceive to be a terrorist
I think you're speaking on behalf of Israelis who aren't saying that. They're making it very clear. It's not just about Hamas. They're seizing territory in Gaza. They're planning to, some of them are planning to resettle in Gaza, and right now, northern Gaza, according to the UN humanitarian chief, everyone is at risk of dying, Piers. Everyone. That's the words of the UN humanitarian chief.
Don't misunderstand me. I think what's happening in Gaza is horrific.
You just won't say genocide?
No. You asked me if it's genocide. I don't think it is. And you asked me if it's terrorism. I don't think it is. Do I think it's got unacceptable, the level of civilian death? Absolutely.
But you do think Netanyahu probably could end up at the ICC?
Do I think that they have no plan for the end of this? Absolutely. Do I think Netanyahu and the headbangers and his cabinet should go? Absolutely. Do I think Hamas should have any authority going forward? No. So there are lots of ways that we can try and
I know, but ultimately history will judge where you were on this, and they'll say you were right on Iraq and you didn't really come on board on Gaza.
And I don't think they'll find that you were right about calling it terrorism or genocide.
Okay.
We'll see.
I hope you're right. Obviously, I don't want it to be a genocide, but it looks like one, sounds like one, walks like one. Just on last, I do want to talk about Donald Trump with you, but just on this topic, October 7th was bad enough. I think we can both agree. The kidnapping and killing of civilians, war crimes, without anyone having to exaggerate how bad it was. And yet, given the way a genocidal Israeli government, in my view, not yours, has used atrocity propaganda to try and justify the mass killing of Palestinians, especially Palestinian children. And that October the 7th, some would argue, even got as a Palestinian-American child killed in Illinois. There's an argument that that guy was infuriated by talk of beheaded babies, etc. Do you regret, Piers, a year later, having used your very big platforms, YouTube, Twitter, to spread that atrocity propaganda, to repeat the Israeli line uncritically, saying, and I quote, 40 babies being killed, some of them being beheaded?
Well, I never said, as people have tried to claim, that 40 babies got beheaded. Right? We do know that some babies were killed.
One.
We do know a baby was kidnapped. Well, I mean, what I find fascinating about this, when people start going on their Hamas defense.
That's not a Hamas defense. We're journalists. We believe in facts. Right?
I know you do. But I also had Bassem Youssef on last week saying there was no sexual abusive.
Bassem Youssef can speak for himself. I'm asking you about 40 babies being killed, some of them being beheaded. Do you regret saying that as a journalist? You correct things when you're wrong.
As you know, well, I've already said this on my show. So had you done your research in the capable way you say you do, you would know that I've already said, yeah, it turned out that 40 babies were not killed.
That's weird because I've just checked this morning and all your tweets are still up saying that 40 babies were killed. So if you've corrected it.
I've said it on my show.
But your tweet, you have how many million followers do you have? I know you love talking about your followers.
A lot more than you.
Yeah, how many?
I think it's 8.8 million.
So 8.8 million, we could still see multiple
But they
examples.
can watch my show.
Which show?
My Piers Morgan Uncensored.
But multiple shows. So you say you got it wrong and you apologise for getting it wrong.
Have
you apologised?
Let me be clear.
I'm just trying to get to the
facts.
Let
me be clear.
Okay.
Let me answer. Okay. Right? There was a report that said 40 babies had been beheaded.
Yeah.
People believed it in the moment. It turned out not to be true. I never actually said 40 babies have been beheaded, contrary to the avalanche of people who on a daily...
You passed it off as fact, Piers. Come on.
I didn't.
October 10th, talking to Joan Collins. This new revelation of 40 babies being killed, some of them being beheaded. How can any human being do that to a baby?
Right.
There's nothing in there that expresses any doubt.
Right, I didn't say 40 babies got beheaded.
You said 40 babies killed, some of them being beheaded. That's false.
Right.
None of them were beheaded.
Right, okay.
And you said it as fact.
Okay, but why are you defending Hamas?
That's your response. I'm not defending Hamas. I just started with Hamas did war crimes
babies killed?
on October the 7th. Horrific, and they should all go to prison.
Were any babies killed?
Yes, children were killed. Yes.
Right, were any kidnapped?
But I'm wondering why you pushed an Israeli propaganda line.
Were any kidnapped?
Yes.
Okay.
Horrific, and I've condemned it, Piers.
Were any people beheaded?
I've condemned it.
Were any people beheaded?
I believe a Thai worker and maybe a soldier were, according to a video.
Beheaded.
Yeah.
Okay, so babies were killed, babies were kidnapped, people were beheaded, right? And your position is you want to sit here and split hairs about
people died as a result of this, Piers. A kid was killed in Illinois by a guy who believed this stuff.
1,200 people got killed.
But you and I are not responsible for that, right? You and I are not responsible.
And nearly 7,000 got wounded.
You and I are not responsible for that.
You want to sit here and try and defend Hamas.
Where did I defend Hamas?
You are.
When?
You tried to downplay and diminish what they did.
I literally started by saying, don't we both agree the kidnapping and killing of civilians are war crimes?
Right.
So how did I defend Hamas? That's a lie. You just lied.
Yeah, but are you suggesting that
I'm suggesting that as a journalist, you pushed something that was false, you should have corrected it and apologized.
Right.
What we have just witnessed is more than a simple clash of personalities. It is a clinical dissection of the intellectual dishonesty that plagues mainstream Western media. Mehdi Hasan's cross-examination of Piers Morgan serves as a definitive case study in how objective pundits often function as moral gatekeepers for state-sponsored violence. The moment Piers Morgan decided to retroactively withdraw his labeling of the Russian invasion of Ukraine as a genocide simply because he couldn't reconcile that label with his refusal to apply it to Gaza should be remembered as one of the most intellectually bankrupt moments in modern broadcasting. Piers Morgan portrays himself as a man of evolution, but as Mehdi correctly identifies, this is not evolution. It is a tactical retreat to protect his proximity to power. Whether it is Benjamin Netanyahu's campaign in Gaza or Donald Trump's authoritarian drift, Piers displays a stubborn resistance to the facts staring him in the face. By refusing to acknowledge the genocidal intent in the rhetoric of the Israeli cabinet, even while they use biblical references like Amalek to justify total destruction, Piers abandons the very journalistic faculties he claims to champion. He attempts to move the goalposts by arguing that Israel hasn't used nuclear weapons, as if the absence of a mushroom cloud is the only thing standing between war and a crime against humanity. The exchange regarding Donald Trump is equally revealing. We see Piers struggle to explain why the man he called a monster and mentally unstable after the January 6th insurrection is suddenly acceptable again. He dismisses Trump's praise of Hitler's generals and his enemy within rhetoric as mere humor or racial insensitivity. This is the classic playbook of the enabler, downplaying fascist rhetoric as performance until it is too late to stop the reality. Piers isn't uncensored here. He is a man desperately trying to keep a foot in both camps, wanting the prestige of being a liberal while providing cover for figures who represent the absolute antithesis of liberal democratic values. Ultimately, this debate confirms that moral clarity is not a matter of balance. It is not about hearing both sides when one side is gunning down 3-year-olds with double-tap drone strikes or calling for the termination of the Constitution. Mehdi Hasan didn't just win a debate. He exposed the structural bias that allows figures like Netanyahu and Trump to operate with a level of impunity granted to them by a compliant media class. History will indeed judge where everyone stood during this era. And as this clip proves, it will not be kind to those who split hairs while children were being buried in the thousands. This is why we must demand more than just spirited debate. We must demand an end to the selective application of international law and a rejection of the fog of war excuse for the indefensible. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to Floor Leader Insider for more deep dive analyses that hold power to account. Till next time, guys, stay sharp and keep winning. I'll see you in the next one.